Okay. Well, thank you all for joining in today. I'm William Trainer, founder, president, CEO of Vicinity Motor Corp. Um, I'm going to present to you today our story and where we fit in the market. So I'll just plug along here. Yeah, so our corporate overview, I'm excited to share our story with you today. We're truly at an inflection point in our history. The Vicinity Bus is the right product at the right time. And we're already an established brand in the market, which I think is key. We run a very capital light model. We've got some strong revenue growth. We released our Q1 here not too long ago. We had 27 million in revenue for Q1. I think that sets us aside a lot from, a lot of our startup competitions, some of these SPACs that are coming in. We wish them all well, but it is a difficult market to break to, particularly the transit market. You're dealing with government agencies, and it's got a big barrier to entry to get into it. We were established back in 2008. We come to life really with BC Transit up here. We're a Canadian-based company pushing hard into the U.S. now. But BC Transit was looking really for a mid-sized bus, and there really wasn't anything that existed in the market at the time. So we entered into a strategic partnership with them to build a mid-size bus, a community shuttle bus. And since then, we've added our electric bus, which I'm going to go into in great detail today. And we're seeing today in the EV market, there's just a tremendous incentives tailwind from the government with funding capabilities coming in. And recently, we just launched our small truck. We took the same technology that we had used for our bus development and put it into a Class 3 truck, which I'll get into detail here a little later in the slides. So our market. We compete on the bus market in a market that's roughly about 25,000 annual sales, and we really see the market traditionally going away from diesel and CNG buses and establish themselves more with the electric bus market, and that's really where I think we've positioned ourselves extremely well in this marketplace. So government funding, that's really what's driving this EV adoption today. The funding that's come available, post COVID here is just amazing. On the Canadian side, we see billions of dollars being poured into the infrastructure funding for cleaner vehicles. The US is even on bigger numbers. If you look at what's been put out here and to modernize the fleets, it's just utterly amazing what's come about, and it's been well overdue, and it's really supporting the marketplace. So where do we fit in the market, and what is our market addressable market, and where are we in the space today? We have a full range of buses to meet various applications and requirements. We started off. We've got our diesel and CNG buses. Both from about a 26-foot all the way up to a 38-foot model. But the real excitement today is getting into the EV product. The EV product, it's taken us quite a few years to bring out our EV product. We've entered in the mid-size bus market, and the future really is in the electric vehicles. And I'm going to get into, when we get into the slide deck here, I'm really going to get into what makes us stand out and why, I think our vehicles are really a competitive offering in the marketplace, and why we're going to capture a lot of market share in this industry. We're currently developing our larger buses, which will be called the Vicinity Bolt. We've got the Vicinity Lightning, which is a 28-foot that is in market. We've already Been selling the bus. We've picked up a considerable amount of orders on it already. And then we took the technology that we developed with the electric bus and really put it into a small class 3 truck, which we've entered the market with. So our flagship bus is really this Vicinity bus that you're seeing here. It's a market leader in Canada. We have about 90% market penetration. We have, I think it's close to 600 vehicles on the market today. When we developed this bus, we developed it in conjunction with the local transit authorities. And really there wasn't anything in the market that they were looking for. A lot of the competitors at the time frame were, when you wanted a mid-sized bus, we're really taking the workhorse of the models, which is a 40-foot, and cutting 10 feet out of the middle of it and giving that to the customers. And then on the lower end, you had what was considered a cutaway bus, which is really a van-style bus with a transit body built on the back of it. And the longevity wasn't there, just wasn't standing up. They last about 3 to 5 years. So we developed this product to be a 10-year product. And it's just been outstanding for us, the reception, and because it's really a purpose-built unit. And when I say purpose-built, it was sized correctly for the market when it come to the market, and that's why it's had such a great success. Sizing it correctly for the market was important because it's a lighter vehicle, it's purpose-built, and when you think about where a lot of these vehicles are going. They go into the communities. They go into to pick up people in the communities. If you want to make a real impact in the transit market, you need to go pick up the passengers in the neighborhoods and where they live. Otherwise, they get in their car, they drive to a park and ride or something like that, and most of them just continue on the road. So every vehicle bus that comes into the fleet, comes into a transit fleet, usually reduces about 40 cars off the road. So it's a very significant impact. So when we look at, the vehicles, our Vicinity buses, have been tested to enter the market, particularly the U.S. market, and the Federal Transportation Administration funds a lot of these buses. So the transit authorities apply for funding, and in order to qualify for the funding, there's a few things that you need to meet when you're on these tenders. You need to have an Altoona test. So the Altoona test is actually done by the Federal Transportation Administration down in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And really what they do is they take the vehicle and they put subject it to a life cycle in a short period of time. And, I'm proud to say that, our buses that we developed actually come out best in class for that testing. So that's one of the items that you need to do. The other is you need to actually manufacture the vehicle in the United States, which we are putting a factory down in Washington State. In the past, we did a lot of contract manufacturing, but we're putting our own factory down in Washington State. And the other major item that you need to qualify for your FTA-funded purchases is you need to have 70% U.S. content. So we check all those boxes. So our vehicles are purpose-built. And I stated that earlier. That means that we designed them really from the ground up to work into the market that they're working in. And this is what makes our product really vastly superior. But now we'll get into really where the future is. Our future is in the electric vehicle. The market's going electric. I think we've got probably the best small mid-size electric vehicle on the market today. And really, what makes it better? So we started off when we started to design our bus, we wanted to design it to actually come into the market at a price that made sense. So ours is really coming in, if you look at it, we've got, say, they're $299,000. The average price of it selling into transit authorities by the time they outfit it what they want is usually around $300,000 to $350,000. Now, a comparable diesel bus would be in around the 250 range. So our bus on an electric vehicle is costing about $100,000 more. And this is where we separate ourselves from the competition. A lot of the competition that's coming out with the same size bus is bringing their bus to market at $600,000 to $700,000. So we'd like to say that ours is, super competitively priced, but it's also, it can make a business sense. Not only is the bus vastly superior, but it makes a business sense. So you can buy ours at that price range. And if you look at the total cost of ownership, it actually makes sense. You can build a business case. So if you're a shuttle operator that's actually operating this vehicle, say, out of one of the airports or even a transit authority, but use an airport shuttle operator for an example, you can buy it at $350 and do a business case where he's actually going to save money over a 10-year life expectancy of the vehicle. And I think that's key. A lot of the competition that's coming out at the $600,000 and $700,000 range, they need to have subsidies in place. The federal governments have to subsidize those vehicles or come out with some cost reductions or some programs in place in order for the business sense, in order for the vehicle to make business sense. So now when we look at our vehicle, and you say, how do we get that price down to $350,000? Well, when we designed the product, we designed it with the automotive industry standards in place. We wanted to really map ourselves after what the automotive industry was doing. And the automotive industry uses 400 volt batteries. So we chose a battery pack, which is a BMW battery pack on these units. And the battery pack is very thin. It's about 7 inches thick. So this really allowed us to, one, put it in the low floor section of the bus. So it's embedded into the, we engineered it to go into the low floor section. So these units, these buses, when we say a low floor, it's easy access off and on the vehicle. So you can pull up and you can actually deploy a ramp, and somebody that was disabled in a wheelchair, for an example, can roll on themselves. Or seniors that are having trouble getting upstairs, they actually go on a low floor section of the bus. So by putting the batteries in a low floor section, we've maintained the a low floor bus. We see our competitors actually come into market on the commercial side and buying commercial batteries, which are a lot more expensive than automotive style batteries, and they're challenged to where they can put the batteries. So the batteries end up on the roof. So if you look at our competitors, I'm not going to name them off here, but if you can imagine a bus with the batteries in the low floor section, it handles extremely well. Or you can put it on the roof, which makes it very top heavy. So that's one. But the other thing is staying with the automotive style components. Like I'll use the battery pack. It allowed us to put an onboard charger on it. So when we sell our product, we sell it with a plug, much like a Tesla car. So you can take the vehicle and you can plug it into a standard electrical grid. And this is a key point. So if you look at your electrical grid that's available in North America, the majority of the electrical grid is single phase power. So you're looking at 240 volt single phase power. That's what every home has. Most businesses have that. So the competitors that are coming out, and they've got the commercial batteries are 600 to 800 volts. And the majority of them require three-phase power. Three-phase power is not available in most areas. It's usually slotted for high density manufacturing, so into an industrial park or such. So our vehicle was designed really to accommodate and go into the market for ease of use. The other thing that we did, talk about the charger. So with an onboard charger and with the cord, you can charge it, and you can charge it in 6 to 7 hours. So we're talking about an overnight charge on this vehicle. You can charge it on a fast pack DC charger as well, to bring it down to probably under 2 hours, or approximately 2 hours for a full charge. But in most instances, we see people charging this thing overnight and then driving it during the day. The other thing that we did is we looked at the school bus industry and what they were doing. Most of the buses in the school bus industry, they use hydraulic brakes. And the reason they use that is that the drivers don't need a commercial air brake ticket to drive it. So we developed our product to actually come out with a hydraulic brake on it. So it's very ease of use for the customer, very ease of use for the operator driving it, and using the automotive style components. Like you can see there, we've listed it. We've got a Danfoss motor on that. That's a U.S. corporation that builds that motor, and it's built more for the automotive industry. So it fits extremely well, and we keep our price point in check for the vehicle. And I think that's where, when we look at where we are in the market and where we're going to capture the market, I think ours makes great business sense. Then we went ahead and we took the technology that we developed for our electric bus, and we actually put it into a small truck. This is what they could consider a cab over vehicle. It's what's considered a class 3. So it's got a 12,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating. The truck itself, with the batteries and with a box on the back, weighs 6,000 pounds. So this vehicle can actually have a 6,000 pound payload on the back of it, which is very, very ample. So we designed this vehicle really to enter into the municipal arena. There's a lot of landscapers, there's a lot of municipalities that buy these type of vehicles for their fleets because it's very nimble. It's light, considered lightweight. In the market, there's over 400,000 of these vehicles sold per year in North America. So we thought it was a perfect match to what we're doing. And the other thing is that it aligns well with our infrastructure that we have for the buses. We can support it the same way that we support the bus, which is, we have our parts departments, we have our service department, our warranty department. So it fits in, and it was really a nice parallel growth to what we're doing with what we had developed. So we're quite excited to get this to market. We've started marketing it already. We've taken some orders on the vehicle. We expect to set a dealer network up. We're in the process of doing that, and then sell to the cities and municipalities that we're selling the buses to as well. Now, key to our strategic marketing and expansion that we want is really putting a factory in Washington State. If you follow some of our recent news releases, we had a groundbreaking ceremony with Governor Jay Inslee down in Washington about 2 weeks ago. Had quite a bit of media events there. They're very excited to see us put a full-scale EV manufacturing facility in the state. And we really expect to get a lot of support and sales out of the state of Washington and so on out of that factory. It made perfect sense for us to put our U.S. headquarters in Washington State. It's a 30-minute drive from our Canadian headquarters. Will allow us to share a lot of the resources on either side of the border. And it's really a key part of our strategic expansion plans. The factory, we had the groundbreaking. The actual building will be up by the end of this year. By December 2021, the building will be completed, and then we'll finish up outfitting the building with the advanced assembly line and cranes and paint booths and etc. And we'll actually start producing vehicles hopefully by Q2 2022 out of this facility. So, we're in the very early stages of an extremely attractive organic growth strategy. We've positioned ourselves extremely well in the market. To expand into the U.S. market, we've expanded our dealer network. We have a strong working relationship and partnership with the ABC group of companies. They're a national sales group. They're in the market today. They have over 25% market penetration in the coach bus. They have some pretty superior facilities, both repair and parts facilities and service facilities across the U.S. They have 3 mega locations in California, which is really key. Part of our news releases earlier this week was we announced that we were selected for the CALAC bid. CALAC bid for mid-sized buses is going to be approximately upwards to 8,000 units over the next 5 years. So we, with our factory in Washington State, I think we're in a strong position to capture a great amount of those sales in California and in Washington. The Washington contract that we have as well allows us to sell to Oregon. So I think we're positioned really well for this attractive growth strategy that we have in place. Financials, I would say we have a strong balance sheet. If you looked at our current balance sheet today, we have no debt. We're cash flow positive. And we recently listed on the NASDAQ exchange to give access to investors in the U.S. and really get our eyes on the U.S. market. That's where our growth is. That's where our penetration is. That's where we see our EV buses and trucks being sold. Majority of them sold in there. So we're listed on the NASDAQ under the symbol VEV, and we'll be releasing our Q2 financial results here on April 11th. There was a news release that went out on that today, I do believe. So we had, as I stated, we had a very strong Q1. We did 27 million in Q1. So we've projected out there that we're going to have a very good Q2 as well. So we look forward to getting those numbers out to the market. Now, what's key in any business is the strength of the management. I feel we've got a very strong management in place and a very strong board of directors that is really active in the business, and I think that's key for us to achieve our growth objectives. So key takeaways. I think I have to stress this is that we are in the market today. We are a leading supplier of electric, CNG, clean diesel vehicles for public and commercial use. We're an established brand. We're in the market with that established brand. We have over 90% market share in our core products in Canada. Now with our expansion into the U.S., we want to achieve that same goal, or at least increase that considerably down in the U.S. market as well. We run a capital light model. We have strong growth. We have EV buses, which EV products, vehicles that I consider to be at the forefront, leading technology today. And the market is perfectly positioned for us. With the government incentives that are in place today, I think we're just positioned extremely well in the market to capture the growth that we're projecting. Anybody that wants to reach out to us, the best is to go on our investor relations site, vmc@mzgroup.us, or at our vicinitymotorcorp.com. All the details are there. So with that, I'll turn it back to James. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bill. That was a very interesting presentation. And I guess the first question is I'm based here in New York City, where we're all going green.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, and obviously where you are on the West Coast, even more green ahead of us.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering if you see pockets of larger opportunity, i.e. faster orders, or if it's more of a gradual process when you're selling. And I would put the same question to you also about Europe as well, which I think is an enormous market potentially.
Yeah, we have to establish ourselves in the U.S. market first, but there definitely is pockets. There's no question about it. We see the EV business evolving, and if you look at the life cycle of some of these vehicles, they're 10, 12 years. So it's going to take, in a best case scenario, it's going to take 10 to 12 years to convert the fleet over. So there's definitely pockets that are more driven. When we look at Washington State, my conversation with Governor Jay Inslee while we were down there a couple of weeks ago was, he's internal combustion engines, I think, will not be sold in that state within the next 10 years. They're phasing them out. I think California's the same way. So there's definitely, states that are trying to be a little more aggressive and get these cleaner vehicles on the road a lot sooner. And that's where I think we're positioned well. The West Coast definitely, all up and down the West Coast, you see a major push, but definitely New York as well. That's another state, and then other ones are following. But this is our kids' future. We got to clean up these vehicles. Nobody wants to see a dirty diesel bus going down the street blowing black smoke out. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for anybody.
Not at all. I certainly never enjoyed riding them as a kid. And just to go into the key takeaway slide 18, you're guiding 2021 deliveries to be minimum 150 buses, 55 million in revenues. What are the sort of puts and takes in that guidance? What can make it be better? What could make it be worse?
Well, I think we'll have our Q2 out here in, less than a couple of weeks. And then I think people get a good sense of, what we're doing. We're selling units, we're delivering buses. And, we see that just continually ramping up for us. Our guidance out there for 55 million, that's definitely within sight. 150 units. It's our 2022 is where, we'll probably have to give a little more guidance on that as we get closer to the end of the year here, and give some proper guidance on it as we fill this order book up. We're filling it up as we speak now. Some of these wins that we've had recently, these Washington State and California. These state tenders that we're on, now it comes the sales group needs to get out there and actually turn those into hard orders so that we can fill that factory. That factory has a capacity of 1,000 units a year.
Okay.
We're not going to get there for 2022, but definitely it's a big push for us to get the majority of the units out.
And I know that one of the things that we have talked about before are other types of buses, maybe different lengths, but here we're talking about things like airport shuttles, et cetera, that would be private purchases. So if, when you talk to the board and you have these discussions, you're running at 1,000 per year, full capacity. How much of that would be public, i.e. municipal, and how much of it would be private?
Well, if you look at the marketplace, I think we're positioned well to take that 1,000 and ramp it up fairly quickly. The market for us is roughly 50-50. The U.S. is the market, so that's really where the market is. So we look at that. We see it broke down 50% public, 50% private. So the public side, the funding's in place. We just got to go take the order book on it. There's so much funding out there right now. It's just incredible. And as I stated, we're well positioned, price wise on a price point and on a ease of use point for our vehicle. It's just getting the teams out there and getting the order book. So The public side is in place for us. The private side, I think we're the only company that makes sense on the private side. You know, if you want to go buy our competitor's bus at $600,000 to $700,000 when you can buy a diesel bus at $250,000, you need something there. You got to have some rebates. You got to have some incentives. You really need to look at your business model and say, hey, can I go out there and do I want to have that investment and be that green when it's hitting your bottom line? So when you look at ours at $350,000, you can build a business case, and we're building them as we speak. You know, we need more data in order to do a true life cycle costing on it. But you know, the initial life cycle costing on the units, it's a no-brainer. It's you know, why wouldn't you spend the $100,000? You're going to save more than save that over the life of that vehicle with the you know, the reduction in fuel costs, the reduction in maintenance costs.
Absolutely.
Vehicles are very easy to maintain, comparable to a diesel bus.
And do you think that, I don't want to put you on the spot and have you talk about your competitors, but Proterra, which is now called Proterra, or always called Proterra, now part of Arclight, SPAC, has had some issues in Philadelphia. And SEPTA, Transportation Authority, has actually pulled those electric buses from circulation. So I guess the question is it how much of a problem is it for Vicinity that this is still somewhat new technology, and some of your competitors might not be that good at it?
Well, you know, anytime you're getting new product to market, there's going to be hiccups in it. There's no question about it. You know, you mentioned Proterra. Proterra sells a 40-foot bus. We're not in that market. We're in a 30-foot bus market. So, you know, our bus market, you know, I consider it to be a bigger, the market is larger.
Right.
They don't make a 30-foot. So, you know, I think that, you know, our 30-foot, you know, time will tell here, but, you know, I think we've put what I would consider to be the best components in there. And hopefully we get the longevity that we want out of it. You know, one thing that I got to say about ours is, you know, we're relatively new to the market with the electric bus. I know Proterra's had theirs out for a while, but, you know, we've developed our bus. We get our first bus that we're going to use for demonstration purposes is available probably sometime in August, late August for us. We've already started the sales cycle and are selling vehicles. You know, without having a demo model, we've taken 30 orders, and one of the orders is pretty substantial. So, you know, we recently in Canada here, we won the Calgary contract. The Calgary contract's a 5-year contract. So that's the first large mid-sized bus contract that's been let in the North American market, and everybody was in there competing on it. And without even having a demo, we won the tender. You know, we have a very, very, very strong engineering group here. You know, the data that some of these transit authorities, you know, they used a consulting engineering company as well as their own group to analyze the bid and see, you know, who was going to have the best vehicle and what they thought was going to stand up the best. And, you know, we come out on top. And that's against all the competition. You know, I think there was 10 different companies or 12 companies that pulled that tender. Even European companies pulled that tender to compete on it.
Yeah.
And we're selected, and there's a reason for that, right?
And just to confirm, you mentioned that your next earnings call is August 11th. I just want to make sure I have the date
Correct. Yes.
correct there. Okay. So that will be. I look forward to listening to that. And then I guess the last question I have is that, and I told Dan Blundell from Nano One that I wouldn't get into a long thing about my old life, but I did follow autos for 11 years. I did follow BMW based in London for about 6 years. great company. Some of my best friends are German, and just wondering how that relationship came about, and how much commitment do you see from them as a battery producer? Because obviously Tesla gets
Well,
the
we'll
lion's share of all the attention, but Volkswagen is pushing pretty hard as well now with Power Day. Herbert, do you think BMW fits in as someone who buys the product?
Well, when we selected the BMW, and I must say, we always look for a couple of suppliers on our product line too, so we don't get stuck if you can't get supply out of one of them. But the reason we went with the BMW battery on these first units is the safety record. They've got over 500,000 units in safety today in the market, and that's something that particularly on the public side, that you're judged on, how your safety rating is going to be on the battery pack, and they had the data and the support to actually give it to us, and we could utilize that for the tender. So that was number one. The other thing was I told you is that it's more of an automotive style battery.
Yep.
So and for us, that's key for us to stay into that market, because the competitors, James, when I say it's $600,000-$700,000, we could have been there easily on the price of our bus. There's options out there that you can take as a package option, and I don't want to mention who offers these things, but it's a lot of the major OEMs that were supplying engines offer a package for you, and they'll give you the batteries, the battery management, the power distribution units, I could just go on and on about what's in there. They'll give you that whole package and actually help you engineer it into your product, but it's $400,000. So if we had done that, we'd be pricing our vehicle in that $600,000-$700,000 range. So for us, we started this project, many years ago on trying to develop the electric product ourselves. And for us, the key was to have it in-house, to develop that hardware that we could select the components and not be stuck with somebody else's selecting components for us. And that I think is going to really separate us from our competitors.
Yes, and I think the solution you're doing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's good.